Good evening. I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Town of Wendell Board of Commissioners and welcome you all here tonight. We're going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Lake Myra Elementary student Wallace Frazier Clark. Frazier, if you can come stand at the podium.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell y'all a little bit about him, my new little friend. Excuse me. It brings us great joy and excitement to nominate Wallace Frazier Clark. Frazier, this is from his principal. Frazier is a 5th grade student at Lake Myra Elementary School and is one of the students in our ECS program. Frazier has the biggest heart and is a student who is well loved at Lake Myra. Over the 6 years we have known him, we have seen so much growth in him socially and academically. Frazier works hard and has become increasingly flexible at trying new things and being an active member of our school community. Frazier has been successful during our Otter Bistro and bakery events where he has meal planned, prepared and served food, triumphed during all Special Olympics events, and has been a wholeheartedly active part of each school event. Frazier excitedly welcomes and greets everyone, which he's been greeting everyone here tonight, which I appreciate tremendously. He does that each day in the building. He makes everyone feel warm and welcome when they are around him. Frazier is well loved by the staff and students at Lake Myra, and we are also proud of the young man he is becoming. So he was nominated by his principal to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. So congratulations for that, Frazier. If everyone will stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. I don't want to keep going.
Thank you, Frazier.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye, honey. Now, if that didn't make you have a good day, I don't know what will. Our invocation tonight from the Wendell Council of Churches, Covenant Presbyterian Church, is in charge tonight, and we're going to hear from Elaine Vaden. Is she here? All right, I'm going to have to call on my friend Errol Briggerman. Can you handle it for me? Sure. Thank you so much.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I don't even have anything going on right this time, I don't think. Well, wait, in the end of April, we do have our Operation Inasmuch, which I'll have more information on that next month. So anyhow, let's pray. Lord, thank you for this wonderful day you've given us. Lord, thank you for this community, how you've brought it together, how you just have encouraged us to grow in you, how you have went through all of this sickness with us, brought us through it. We just pray now, Lord, for our board tonight, for the decisions they have to make, Lord. We just know that they'll honor you. We just pray all these things in your blessed name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. I know that was spur of the moment. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? If not, we have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll move to our public comment period. In public comment, the public can participate in 3 ways. You can sign up the night of the meeting, you can submit written statements to the town clerk on the Friday before a meeting, or you can request to call in the Uber conference, and that on the Friday before the meeting as well. No one has signed up tonight. It's a strange night. I feel silly even reading through all the stuff, but I want to encourage people to call in or come in if they want to. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll move into recognitions, reports, and presentations. Item 4A is the recognition of Lake Myra Elementary School Nicole Albino. Miss Albino, can you come to the podium? I received this from the principal at Lake Mara Elementary School. It is our pleasure to nominate Nicole Nikki Albino to be recognized at the Town of Wendell Board meeting for her dedication and service to our Lake Mara community. Nikki is a champion for all students. Nikki is our child nutrition manager. She shows up each and every day to ensure our students' nutritional needs are met. Throughout the pandemic, she continuously advocated and worked hard to ensure that every child and every family in our community had food on their table. Nikki knows the name of every single student in our building. She builds relationships with every student and staff member and helps to make Lake Mara a safe and secure place where the needs of all students are met. Nikki always does what is needed to support our school community. She is a true leader and the light in the lives of so many. We are forever grateful for her commitment, passion, and dedication to our Lake family. Thank you, Nikki, for always going above and beyond for our kids. Wow, that's very nice. My goodness. We wanted to invite you here tonight and recognize you for everything you do for our kids in Wendell, and thank you for that.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. All right, we'll move into section 5, our public hearings. The first one, number 5A, is a public hearing to rezone approximately 39.49 acres from rural agricultural to neighborhood center conditional district to create Magnolia towns. Mr. Coates.
Yep, good evening, Mayor and Council. The first public hearing is the rezoning for the Magnolia Towns project. The applicant, David Bergmark, is here, as well as the developer. I'm going to go through this if you have any questions for staff, and then the developer or the applicant has a PowerPoint as well.
Okay.
The request for this is to hold a public hearing on the proposed conditional district rezoning request and consider making a motion to adopt the attached ordinance. The applicant's requesting to rezone one parcel located near the intersection of Lake Glad Road and Landing Place Drive from rural agricultural to neighborhood center to create a residential townhome neighborhood. The applicant's proposal features 121 townhomes. The applicant's also proposing, which will be the third public hearing, a developer's agreement to dedicate 5 acres along the southern border to the town of Wendell to be used for a new public works facility, and 8 acres for a public park facility along the South Main Street proposed Greenway. The developer's agreement also includes construction of a 500-foot off-site road extension of Harris Street in lieu of improvements to Lake Glad, except as required by NCDOT. Site plan, there's 2 phases for the project. The developer, phase 2 is in 2 sections, the Harris Street crossing and the units on the southern end. Phase 1 includes the bulk of the townhomes and dedicating the land for the public works facility and the neighborhood park. Property information, it's currently the property 0 Lake Glad Road. Current zoning is rural agricultural, which is the basic zoning for our ETJ. The requested zoning is neighborhood center conditional district. It's roughly 39.49 acres. Corporate limits, it's currently in our ETJ. Current use, woodlands, field, proposed land use of townhomes. Property owner is Capital Funds, Inc., and the applicant is David Bergmark of McAdams. Current zoning in the area is a real mix. To the north is residential 2. To the south is residential 3 conditional district as well as RA. To the east is residential R3. To the west is manufacturing, industrial, corridor mixed use, and residential 2. There's a site map showing the site is here in blue. You can see the different zoning classifications. To the west is the more industrial, commercial type uses. To the east, across the South Main Street right-of-way, which is where a proposed Greenway is to be constructed, is a residential 2. The request of the neighborhood center district, neighborhood centers are coded to provide for areas for residential mixed-use development. In this case, the applicant's proposing just residential townhomes. The intent is to create higher density residential areas that complement commercial districts, which in this case is the downtown core, with physical proximity and pedestrian connectivity. Different housing types and lot styles are encouraged in neighborhood center. UDO requirements for a townhome, the lot width is 16 feet is the minimum. The applicant's proposing 22 for the middle units and 29.5 feet for the end units, which will have two-car garages. The front setback UDO amendment shows 20 feet. Their applicant's showing 20. And then the side setback between buildings is 5 to 10 feet. They're showing each building will have 5 for a total of 10. And the rear setback they're proposing, because they're front-loaded with the garages in the front, is a 25-foot rear setback. The applicant's proposal meets all setbacks within the neighborhood center zoning district for townhomes. The applicant has proposed 19 zoning conditions. I'm going to go through those for you. The first one is the rezone parcel may be used for and only for townhome units, accessory dwelling, and accessory uses. Such uses shall be permitted by right as part of the approved conditional district. The proposed development will consist of front-loaded townhomes with a minimum lot frontage of 20 feet and a minimum rear setback of 25. The developer shall provide 2 access points along Lake Glad Road, but shall otherwise be exempt from the standard block length requirements in the UDO. Since the South Main Street right-of-way is to be used for a greenway, meeting the standard block length requirement would be required a third connection along Lake Glad, which would negatively impact safety and traffic flow along that major collector. Zoning condition 4, the proposed development shall meet a minimum connectivity index of 1.2 instead of 1.5. This calculation does not include the additional off-site work connection to Folk Street via Harris. Condition 5, the developer shall dedicate approximately 8 acres to the town for a future town park in lieu of meeting otherwise applicable passive and active open space requirements as shown on the plans. Zoning condition number 6, the developer shall dedicate approximately 5 acres of land on the southern portion of the site to the town of Wendell to be used by Public Works. The condition 7, the developer shall provide a 500-foot off-site roadway extension of Harris Street to connect through the site to Landing Place Drive at Lake Glad Road. To offset this off-site improvement, the town will exempt the developer from town frontage requirements, which may be otherwise applied to Lake Glad, and shall require no improvements to the existing South Main Street right-of-way. In this South Main Street right-of-way, we are in design for a greenway in that right-of-way. Also in condition 7, the zoning condition shall not impact any roadway improvements required by DOT, which they are requiring 2 turn lanes on Lake Glad, 1 onto Harris Street and 1 onto Landing Place Drive. The developer, condition number 8, the developer shall dedicate 9.5 feet of additional right-of-way along Lake Glad Road to facilitate future roadway improvements. Condition 9, all interior units shall have a 1-car garage. All end units shall have a 2-car garage. Condition 10, all townhome units shall have a minimum 3-bedroom, 1,500 square foot minimum. Condition 11, on-street parking shall only be permitted in designated spaces. Condition 12, all garage doors shall include windows or carriage-style adornments. Condition 13, in order to promote a variation in home appearance, no townhome unit within a building set can be constructed with a front exterior elevation or color palette that is identical to an adjacent dwelling. That just reinforces the units cannot look the same and have to be different with color palette and the elevation materials. 14, a 10-foot wide asphalt multi-use side path shall be provided connecting the West Haywood Street right-of-way to the South Main Street right-of-way, where the town proposes the greenway. This will provide a western connection from the South Main Street Greenway towards Lake Glad Road. This multi-purpose path connection shall be in lieu of any on-street bicycle lanes. It's also key to note on West Haywood on the northern side, they are also providing a 5-foot sidewalk, so both sides of the road will have pedestrian access. Condition 15, all end units shall have at least 1 window per floor on the end elevations. Condition 16, vinyl siding where used shall be at least 0.044 gauge. Condition 17, at least half of the units in each building shall incorporate board and batten or shake siding as an accent material. Condition 18, at least half of the units in each townhome building shall have an 18-inch to 24-inch decorative water table on the front elevation. And then condition 19, to avoid monotony of exterior elevations, a 2-foot minimum offset in the front facade shall be incorporated at every 3rd unit at a minimum. This breaks up the front facade so they're not all, there's dimension between the units. We have an image of their units, so I can go over some of those conditions. So this brick or stone material you see down here on some of the units, that's what we refer to as a water table. And that just breaks up the materials. So the front has different materials. You can see the board and batten. The end units are 2-car garages. And so you can, zoning conditions are related to these units, and that's why you'll see the water table or other features on them. Here's a site plan with the dedication. So yellow, stripe across the top, is the South Main Street Greenway. The red is the Harris Street connection. The pinkish color on the southern end is the Public Works dedication of 5 acres. The dark green is the roughly 8-acre dedication for the public park, which will be right at the end of the South Main Street Greenway and connect some of those southern neighborhoods. Environmental stormwater. The proposed plan shows the development creating 1 stormwater control measure pond to be used for the stormwater management. The existing pond you see on site today will be dedicated to the town of Wendell and their park property and not used for stormwater management. Buffers. The proposed development plan does include a 20-foot type B buffer along the northern boundary. A type B buffer requires a tree every 25 feet and a shrub every 6. The proposed development plan also includes a 25-foot type A buffer along the southern boundary between what will be a public works facility and the residential units. A type A requires a canopy tree every 40, an understory tree every 20, and a shrub every 5. The proposed development plan also includes a 20-foot street yard buffer along West Haywood Street and Lake Glad Road. The street yard buffer for the townhome community is 2 canopy trees per 100 linear feet of frontage. Open space. A project with 121 townhomes would have to dedicate a minimum 2.78 acres of open space. The applicant's proposing to dedicate 8 acres of land for a neighborhood park. So with that dedication, they're well higher than our required amounts of open space. Streams and wetlands. The current development plan does show the locations of streams and wetlands. No floodplains exist on site. A stream does run from north to south on the property. The development plan shows the required 50-foot noose riparian buffer, which is measured from the top of the stream bank. No proposed lots are within this 50-foot noose riparian buffer. The applicant will need to obtain permits to construct the Harris Street extension, which crosses the stream and the buffer. Transportation. The UDO requires a TIA for anything that exceeds the 100 peak trips per day. It does give planning director to go down to 75 to 100 trips. We can require a TIA. In this case, the peak hour trips from this development, 55 in the morning, 67 in the PM, so TIA was not required. The DOT did review the plans and is requiring 2 turn lanes, 1 onto Harris and 1 onto Landing View Place. The streets they're proposing, the internal streets, are all meeting our 52-foot right-of-way with sidewalks, planting strips, and travel lanes, and curb and gutter. In transportation, the applicant's proposing to dedicate the additional 9.5 feet of right-of-way along Lake Glad Road. Zoning Condition 7 exempts the developer from constructing the required road improvements, which would include a 6 foot of road pavement, 5 feet of a bike lane, and 6 feet of a sidewalk. The developer is proposing to construct 500 feet of off-site roadway extension to Harris Street from Folks to South Main. Harris Street will extend to Landing Place Drive through the proposed development. As I said earlier, DOT is requiring 2 turning lanes for the project. The site plan is providing for 31 off-street parking spaces near the mail kiosk and then also woven in throughout the development. Harris Street will also contain the required 5-foot sidewalks through the extension except between South Main Street and Lake Glad, which will have a 10-foot on the southern side. The proposed streets within the development do meet the town standards. Phasing. The development will be done in 2 phases, Phase 1 and Phase 2. All of the units that are proposed, 121, are part of this plan. There's no other phases in the future. Comprehensive plan identifies this area as an S4 controlled growth. The townhome uses are an appropriate use in that. Technical review committees completed their review of the applicant's master plan, and the applicants made corrections based on their comments. Additional reviews would occur once construction drawings are submitted. Planning Board, at their January 18th meeting, the Planning Board voted 7-0 in favor of the motion to recommend approval of the conditional district. The following statements of plan consistency and reasonableness were used. Principle 7, increase community amenities such as parks, schools, medical facilities, golf courses, and higher ed opportunities. This project does provide the amenities of a neighborhood park. Principle 8, ensure local and regional transportation, interconnectivity, and options while also maintaining and enhancing Wendell as a walkable environment. The developer is proposing to dedicate that 8 acres for a park. They're also connecting a 500-foot segment of Harris Street from Folks to South Main Street. The proposed plan of townhomes is consistent with the identified uses within the S4 sector. Staff comments: the Town of Wendell's Parks and Rec Master Plan identifies the geographic equity of park access as an important consideration to provide short-distance access and to serve all Wendell residents. The 8-acre dedication to the town is located within a service area for a neighborhood park. The future Greenway, multi-use path, and neighborhood park provide key connectivity and recreation opportunities for the neighborhood south of downtown. The land use west of the proposed townhome site contains the old Town of Wendell sewage facility, currently utilized pump stations, a public works facility, warehouse space, and a garage. The proposed townhomes create a transition use between that industrial commercial area and single-family homes east of the South Main Street Greenway. The proposed townhome community will be walkable and bikeable to downtown Wendell. The proposed development is consistent with the Wendell Comprehensive Plan, and staff recommends approval of the conditional district. And the applicant is here as well.
Okay, let's open the public hearing. Are there any questions from the board or staff at this time? All right, let's hear from the applicant.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. Good to see you this evening. Again, just for the record, David Bergmark, Senior Planner with McAdams. My pleasure to be here and present this case before you for a site that, in fact, I even was working on a little bit while I was still here. So this has been in the works in some ways, or at least talked about this site for a few years now. I also have Mark Altman with Taylor Morrison to be the developer present as well tonight. Brian gave a very comprehensive overview, so I'm not going to spend long going through this. I think everyone's familiar with where the site is in relation to downtown Wendell, but it's very close. Again, the site in general. Brian went over the comprehensive plan consistency. It is very close to your village town center. So just a really brief summation, we're looking at 121 townhomes with 4.5 dwelling units per acre post dedication. If you before we provide that land to the town for the park and the public open space, if you include that, you're looking at only about 3 dwelling units per acre. This would be on municipal water and sewer. Again, this is a conditional rezoning request with kind of a lot of the trade-offs being discussed by Mr. Coates for all townhomes. No other uses being proposed as part of this mix of 1- and 2-car garages. Brian showed you the visual, just kind of showing the different trade-offs on this site, and that's really the kind of the most interesting part of this proposal, and the reason for the associated development agreement is just to kind of handle those trade-offs of land, recognizing that this is a somewhat challenging site with the Main Street right away behind it, with the riparian buffer running through it. So that's kind of how we got to the point where we are now in the town of trying to determine what trade-offs could be developed to both give more to the town than might normally be the case, while also giving some concessions to the developer in terms of improvements to Lake Glad Road. As Mr. Coates mentioned, although we're not widening Lake Glad, we are dedicating right-of-way, and we are going to be doing 2 left turn lanes along Lake Glad as well. So you'll be getting some of that widening anyways to accommodate those turn lanes. Brian went over the buffers pretty well, but again, we have riparian buffers, we have, of course, street trees, we have a street yard buffer along Lake Glad Road, and then either a 20-foot type B or a 25-foot type A buffer to the north and south of the development as it abuts other properties. I actually realized, no, okay, I do have the full list on here. Okay, Brian went over this full list, so I'm not going to read all these again. But there are a number of conditions attached to this, and the vast majority of these are things that we are offering, not things that we're asking for exceptions to anything as part of it. Biggest ones just being land dedication and the Harris Street improvement. We're shown, I think, an example elevation by Mr. Coates. Again, it was a very comprehensive overview, so at this point, I'd just be happy to take any questions you may have, or if there's questions of the developer as well.
Okay, any questions from the board for the applicant, the developer? Okay,
One for Brian.
sure. For Brian
Yeah,
Coates.
just thought of something. I just was wondering, in the zoning, does this include like the percentage of the townhomes that can be rented?
There's no zoning condition related to that. I can let the applicant or the developer address that question.
Like someone can buy them all and just rent them all out?
I'll let them answer that question.
I'm going to let Mr. Altman speak to that.
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, so our plan is for this to be at market rate for end users. We cannot restrict an investor to purchase for rental property, but we do put a limitation on that typically in our communities. So at this point, it's intended to be an end user buyer.
Okay, thanks.
All right, any other questions?
I got one while the applicant's already standing up. And I'll give it to David. David, you hit a lot of the things on the conditional list, and I certainly appreciate you and staff working together on it. I see the restriction to the .44 vinyl. Certainly appreciate that. Appreciate that it's a different product. Certainly would prefer to see hardy plank if that's an option for your client. Just a thought process there. And Dr. Luce isn't here tonight. When I spoke with him earlier, one of the things that he was concerned about has already been addressed in the presentation. That's a thing that he would bring up if he was here. So I'm raising that as well.
Sure, and I did bring this up as a possibility. I know it was something that the planning board expressed some concern about during our presentation to them. So if it gives the community a higher comfort level for us to prohibit vinyl siding as a main siding material, we would ask still the option of using it for, fascia, the underside of a porch, or like a window trim. But in terms of the actual wall siding, we're willing to add that prohibition on vinyl siding as a main siding material.
Thank you, sir.
That's great, thank you.
I've
Any
got
other
nothing else,
questions?
Madam Mayor.
Sorry?
I've got nothing else.
Okay, anyone else? All right, are there any citizens here that would like to comment one way or the other regarding this project? Come up to the podium, give me your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Commissioners, for allowing me to come up and give you my thoughts on this proposal. Personally, I think it's a bad plan.
Give me your name and address.
Wayne Norris, 207 Wyeth Lane,
We know,
Wendell,
but you
sorry.
gotta say it for the record.
I think this is a bad plan. This is almost as bad as the plan that was provided for the Edwards property, to be honest with you. Let me go over a few things. First, throughout this entire presentation and development of this presentation, it lists a park that these people can go to. They can walk to this park in 8 acres. 8 acres, you've got football field, soccer field, lacrosse, all this stuff. But it's not 8 acres of usable property unless you want people to wade into Buffalo Creek. So it's not usable land. That's misleading. In a number of places in this presentation, especially under comprehensive plan, it states that on the principle 7 and 8, that this development meets the appropriate uses for those two, principle 7 and 8. But basically what 7 and 8 says is that the comprehensive plan states to increase community activities such as parks, schools, medical facilities, golf courses, and higher education opportunities. Parks, is it 3 acres that it's providing? Plus, none of these people can get to that park by walking. They have to get in a car or a bicycle or a go-kart and go around to get to it. So that's completely misleading as well until Phase 2, if Phase 2 is completed. So, and in addition, I'm only seeing, I think, 31 parking spots that's provided in Phase 1 and 2. If phase one is only completed, I think it's maybe 18 that's available. But I don't see any parking for handicapped citizens. So where's our position in Wendell where a handicapped person can park other than the designated parking spots that's listed on this plan? And if a person is handicapped, I'm somewhat handicapped because I can't walk very well, but I can get around pretty good. But if I had someone I wanted to visit at the northern end of this plan, from that parking spot, I'd have walked 1,200 feet approximately to get to it. Now, every day it's not sunny and warm and nice. If it's freezing cold and raining, that's kind of tough for people to get to. So this is a bad plan. If phase two is put in, I'll have to walk close to 2,200 feet from the center parking spot, designated parking spot, to phase two to get to any of those dwellings. If phase two is available, it's only like 10 spots there. So you got 31 spots for 121 townhomes. 21, that's it. I just can't believe that we're accepting this. This should have been stopped by the planning board, to be honest with you. I went to the meeting where this subdivision was proposed, and to be quite honest with you, I only heard several comments about how nice this was to get a park. And again, I would ask the builder and developer, whoever, to tell us how many usable acres is going to be in this so-called park. And in addition, I haven't seen anything that addresses the traffic that's going to be coming from this. As I see, there was no study done to see what kind of impact that this subdivision would have on Wendell. And we keep allowing this type of development take place, you won't be able to get in and out of Wendell. If you look at what's taking place west of downtown, or east of downtown, what is it, somewhere around 1,000 small homes being built on Old Zebulon Road, Hollybrook Road, and so forth, and several other places there. How in the world are those people going to get through Wendell? I want to hear the town board give us a plan for addressing that traffic. And if you approve this, tell us how you plan for these people to go to Raleigh or go to Wilson, either one. So I've got some real big concerns about how we approve this type of subdivision for Wendell. It's not homogeneous. To me, what would be a lot better would be even to have homes like Jones Landing with lot sizes where people can actually go outside and enjoy their property. With these, I don't know what they're going to do. I just hate putting people in that kind of position. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Mickey Phillips. Thank you for the board for letting us speak tonight. First of all, I never did.
Address real quick.
Pardon me?
Address. I need your address for the record.
4 Forest Lane.
Thank you.
First of all, the conversation went back and forth about are they going to be townhomes to be owned or rental property there, and I didn't quite understand what the answer was.
I didn't either.
Could somebody tell me what it's going to be?
We'll use your time, and then we'll try to address some of your questions.
Okay. Second question is, first of all, I can't believe that anybody would even want to build homes right in front of the sewer plant. I don't live that far from it, back towards Wendell, and in the summertime, the stench in the air is pretty bad where I live, and if you're living right across the street from it, I can't believe anybody would want to buy a home there. So it looks like to me, I guess it's going to wind up being rental property. Second of all, the park that they're supposed to be getting out of this whole deal, who's going to be keeping that park up? Is the town going to have to upkeep it, or is the builder going to do that? And again, that's the questions that I have, but I think it's a terrible idea for traffic. There's no good thing about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name's Carl Wetzel. I live at 417 Daniel Ridge Road. And I'm just gonna, it's already been mentioned, but I'm gonna add my voice to my concern about whether or not this is going to truly be a homeowner community, or if it's gonna be, an investor's gonna come in like another community in town and strike a deal with the developer and put a lot of cash in front of them and entice them to sell the entire community to them with the intent of renting these properties. Certainly there's got to be, you can't discriminate, but if you discriminate equally, I think there's got to be some way to limit what can be, how these can be offered to investors, or certainly HOAs can certainly restrict how many rentals they can put in their community. Certainly can be, hopefully, some conditions for approval and zoning where that could be applied. I'm not sure if that's possible or not, but if HOAs, I would think, are able to do it, certainly a municipality may have some options, but I just wanted to add my concern on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Jason Williams, 201 Wyeth Lane. Just have a quick question. How are we going to restrict traffic from using Jones Landing as a cut-through? That's, if anybody knows, take any answers. No.
Anyone else? All right, are there any other questions from the board?
Can we have the applicant address
Yeah.
any of the public comments
Yeah,
that he'd like?
Sure, I'll take a stab at it. I'll take a notes. So some of the concerns that were expressed about the park, being 8 acres, but all of it is not usable. Yes, absolutely true. Some of it is environmentally sensitive land. Some of it is open land that can be used for recreational purposes. I don't see that as a negative. I mean, to me, parks are supposed to serve both purposes. Let you have land for fields or, playgrounds or whatever, parking, and there would be parking presumably at this as well, that once it's built. But also opportunities to enjoy the natural environment as well. So this site would have both.
So there will be parking at the park?
Well, I say presumably in that this is dedicated to the town, so it would be a town facility. I'm just assuming that when it's constructed, you all would include some parking within that.
Okay.
It's a park we're gonna construct, not you.
Correct. Yeah, in this case, it's a land dedication to the town, so it would be, to answer another question, it would be town maintained. It would, because it's not a neighborhood park, which has both pluses and minuses.
So for citizens to access that, would they need to go up kind of through the Greenway?
He's not prepared to answer that.
Okay, okay. Well, I'll ask Mr. Coates then. Or you, go ahead.
Parks and Rec staff evaluated the site. Main Street is constructed at this point, so this area of land is what the town staff requested to be dedicated for a park. It is properly suited for a park. Not all parks need to be graded down and used for ball fields. Natural areas are parts of park and open space that need to be preserved by public entities, and that's one of the considerations. Since Buffalo Creek is right here, it's part of a tributary Blue Line stream at this point that's going into there, so preserving this little spot of green space is important. There's an opportunity for a neighborhood park, very limited parking in this area where I'm moving the mouse. To this side, outside of the floodplain area, is suitable, especially along the Greenway, for a picnic area, playgrounds, and other associated passive recreation uses that would be attractive to the young families and residents that live in the adjoining neighborhoods. It'd be walkable more for the neighborhoods here along Boxley and Main and some of the other side streets there. It'd be a goal of the town to connect sidewalk connectivity over to Hollybrook Park as well, so that there'd be that connectivity for pedestrians and bicyclists to go between parks in town. The Greenway connection back to Lake Glad Road allows an opportunity for the town to extend the Greenway along Buffalo Creek to connect to Wendell Park as well in the future. That's part of that plan. There's also the ability of potentially extending an additional cross street to the south of Jones Landing subdivision to connect to Wendell Falls Parkway to address that concern while I'm here as well. In a grid system, which all of downtown is, you want as many cross streets in a grid as possible so that there's different places and options for traffic to flow. Grid systems in a downtown suburban and urban environment like that move more traffic and give better options. When you have limited options like what's currently experienced by First Street cutting across to Wendell Falls, or 3rd Street right now, it creates those choke points. So the more options you have, the more you can work around different things that are going on. So this is one connection of a couple that the town are trying to get across to Wendell Falls Parkway. But that is suitable parkland. The town would be designing and building it much like Hollybrook Park in the near future, hopefully. There's quite a bit of park, and the Greenway would also be constructed in the very near future.
So to answer the question from the citizen, the residents of this neighborhood development would have access to the park kind of up and around through the Greenway.
Yeah, not knowing what
Then
kind of
just-
trail access there
Right.
might be
There might be the
across
potential
the
for
creek
that,
and around the pond. There may be additional pedestrian access
but at
directly
least
connecting.
through the Greenway.
Yeah, at a
the
minimum through the Greenway.
Okay. I was just trying to answer all the things that came up, and that
Yeah.
was one of them. Okay.
And I did want to add too that although it's not, program space, there's a lot of open, I mean, everything in that light green is on the developer's land that's being left not developed. So there's certainly some opportunities there if somebody just wants to throw around a baseball with their kid or whatever. There's space for it in addition to the dedicated park space. There was questions about parking, referencing our supplemental guest parking. One of the citizens talked about, where's everyone going to park? There's only 31 spaces. I just want to make it clear that every one of these homes has their own parking. They all have garages, either one or two. All the end units have 2 garage. All the interior have 1. They all have driveways in front because they have enough of a setback to be able to park in front of that unit without blocking a sidewalk or anything. So every home has 2 to 4 parking spaces. So those extra parking spaces are really just meant to help with guests. And there would be handicap parking by because our only real gathering spot, since we're dedicating park space, our only real gathering spots are like by the mail kiosk, and there would be handicap parking required at that location as well. I already spoke to that. And I think the town manager spoke a little bit to the traffic aspect as well. Is there anything else I need to touch on?
Quick question. So there's no HOA? No HOA, so in other words, in the 27-foot roads in there, you can still park on a road legally?
No,
There's no HOA, like, restricting it?
There would still be an HOA established, I'm assuming for
Is there-
maintenance
is there
purposes.
gonna-
Yeah, it's just, there's not HOA, sorry, when I said earlier, there's no HOA maintained park space in that, sometimes you'll have your own tot lot or something like that. Instead, we're donating a large section of land to the town, so that was my comment about the HOA.
So there is an HOA, but it just doesn't restrict, like, a percentage that can be rented yet at this time?
That's per Mr. Altman, that's
Yeah.
not uncommon to be added, but
Well, and HOA will be maintaining the exterior of the buildings, I assume, as well. I mean, I know it's early in the game to state what an HOA will and won't do, but, typically there can be caps in the neighborhood. There can be, maybe not the roof, but exterior maintenance, power washing, et cetera.
and there's still all the open spaces that are left out here. Some of those, would still be maintained areas, even if they're not being built as a ball field or a tot lot or something along those lines. There'll still be common areas of maintenance.
By the HOA.
By the HOA.
So mowing and that kind of thing. I believe you spoke, could you come back up, I'm sorry, about the possibility of with rental regarding owner occupied, that there are, in previous developments, you've placed limits or something on that. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so, and first let me back up and introduce myself, because I think I neglected to do that earlier. So I'm Mark Altman, I'm with Taylor Morrison.
Thank you.
I work with the local division out of Raleigh. And yes, ma'am, we typically have a 10 to 15% restriction on rental property, just because it helps the HOA in managing the community. As far as HOA maintenance and touching on that, absolutely. You know, the passive open spaces, the active open spaces, those will all be maintained by the HOA. As far as the exterior of the buildings, yes, sir, they are maintained, power washed, siding repair, roof replacement when the time comes, all of that's handled through the HOA. So from a curb appeal, a cleanliness, a drive-by appearance, the HOA is going to ensure that occurs, whether that owner is a resident or, absentee via, an investor. The HOA is going to see to it that those units are maintained and that your curb appeal stays in place.
And I'll just give a little context there. I don't know these folks or their situation or their HOA setup, but it's not uncommon for investors to attempt, and I mean individual investors, LLCs, whatever you may call it, but it's not unusual for folks to try to purchase townhomes. And when builders release, 6, 8, 10 units, there are obviously 6, 8, 10 investors willing to purchase. But what you'll find is sometimes they'll change the way they go about it. They'll only allow, one investor unit per building to be sold. The more desirable exterior units, perhaps they are limited to individual homeowners. And again, I'm not speaking for them, but I know of numerous. Wendell Falls is one, 10% cap, so 10 to 15% cap is not unusual, and it lends more towards the HOA handling the maintenance, the appearance. It's not a restrictive covenant. In my eyes, it's always a protective covenant, so, for what it's worth.
So is that something you always do in your development, or sometimes?
Yeah, I wouldn't say always. I mean, each community's a little bit different. Whether it's, we have some that are age-targeted, age-restricted, and so, this is neither of those, intended to be neither of those. But depending on the circumstances around the community, yes, ma'am, we do sometimes set, a cap. I can't stand here tonight and tell you that this would have one, because as you said, we're not at the point of having the HOA set up and really getting into the legal documents of all that just yet. But we typically would have a 10 to 15%.
Mr. Altman, how would this compare with like what you guys have done on Leesville Road, or what you've done in, well, I guess Leesville would be the first one that was a townhome that I saw.
Yeah, so obvious would be, the product being much different, that being a 3-story rear load townhome, this being, 2-story front load. So from a curb appeal, it's gonna ride, it's gonna look, and it's gonna feel a little bit different. But as far as how we handle, investment, how we handle HOA, it'll be pretty much the same.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board?
Madam Mayor, for a motion.
Well, I need to make sure everybody gets to say everything they want to and close the public hearing. All right, nothing else from the applicant, the town staff? All right, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioner Joyner, did you have something you wanted to say?
Move we approve the conditional district rezoning request and adopt the attached ordinance.
With the addition of the vinyl
Correct.
condition that he agreed to here tonight? Okay, we have a motion to, adopt the attached ordinance with the addition of the no vinyl, condition to the others that was agreed to here tonight. Is there any discussion on the motion?
So just quickly from a staff perspective,
Yes,
the
sir.
applicant gave us the condition of vinyl siding shall be prohibited as a primary siding material, but may be used for secondary finishing such as window trim and fascia. And that's very similar to other
Yeah.
conditions related to vinyl
That's
siding.
actually what I wrote down right here, I just didn't
Okay.
say all.
So I'll give this to the clerk if you all are.
Okay, is that good?
That'll replace the current 16 with that wording?
Yes. Okay, so we have a motion to adopt the ordinance with the change in number 16 to say that no vinyl except for windows, trims, fascia, and the like. Is that good? All right, is there any discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor?
Nay.
Anyone opposed? Excuse me?
Second reading.
Okay. All right, we'll have to have a second reading, so we'll schedule that for next time.
Just for the rezoning, right?
Correct. Oh, I'm sorry. That one does require.
So it does not require it?
Does not.
Okay,
I'm sorry, my mistake.
that's okay.
That was a public hearing under 160D. It's the annexation that
Would require it.
triggers the second reading.
All right, item 5B is a public hearing for a contiguous annexation for one parcel totaling 42.38 acres, 39.49 for PIN number 17835698875, 1.76 acres for Lake Glad Road, West Haywood Street right-of-way, and 1.13 acres for South Main Street right-of-way located at 0 Lake Glad Road.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. And just to give you clarification for that right-of-way dedication, when they are contiguous annexations, we do annex the road right-of-way as well in those cases. So you'll see the parcel acreage is different than the total acreage because of the right-of-way. The request tonight is to hold a public hearing for annexation petition A2106 and consider adopting the attached ordinance. Capital Funds, Inc. has submitted an annexation request for the parcel and the right-of-way identified. The property is located within the town of Wendell, ETJ, and abuts corporate limit on all four sides. The parcel is currently zoned RA, just got rezoned to neighborhood center. The proposed annexation would require services from the town's police, public works, parks and rec departments if annexed and developed. Secondary service impacts will be incurred by the other town departments that support operational. Properties already served by the Wendell Holmes Fire District. Water and sewer are readily available for the property with the City of Raleigh's district. Specific impacts are dependent on the use, density, and design of the development. I can field any questions that you do have.
Okay, let's open the public hearing. Any questions from the board? All right, applicant want to be heard? It's up to you.
Nothing further, just if there's any questions, let me know.
Okay. Are there any citizens that would like to comment? Okay. Give me your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
I do, that's all I need.
Okay.
My name is Mary Catherine Phillips. I live at 4 Forest Lane, which backs up to where this development's going to be. At one of the board meetings, I asked, and never got an answer, if the EPA had been brought in on it, and what their report was about the, I'll say odor. But like I called here the other night and left a message to be called back to someone to come down there to smell it was, I guess it was raining that night, to just smell what was going on out there. And of course, I didn't get a call back, which is not unusual. However, I'm asking, were they contacted about this prior to, when I asked maybe few meetings back. Or is there an answer from anyone? Did you have an answer? Okay. So they were not contacted. Am I correct on that?
You can ask any of the questions and comments that you want to, and then we'll try to find some
Okay,
answers for you.
so
from
I'm
the
asking,
staff.
had they been contacted?
All right. Is there anything else that you
That's
wanted
all.
to ask?
That's all I need to ask right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. How do we handle situations like this, Mr. Manager?
We would not contact the Environmental Protection Agency. If there's an odor smell, the City of Raleigh Water is the appropriate entity to call. Their after-hours number, and I'd be glad to get your contact information and provide that number, so anytime you have an odor issue, you can call them.
I've already done that. It's up to y'all, whoever's building, to check it out, I would think.
No, the odor issue comes from, there's a sewer pump station.
Across the street.
Down across the street on property that's operated by the City of Raleigh as part of the water sewer system, since the merger agreement. That's any odor. A development that hasn't happened has not had any impact on smell in the area.
Let's find out, contact information and find out what number she called and see if we can figure out why she did not receive a return phone call. Are there any other citizens that would like to speak? Are there any questions and comments from the board?
Madam Mayor, for a motion.
Okay, let's close the public hearing. I'm ready for a motion.
Move we approve the annexation and adopt the attached ordinance.
We have a motion to approve the annexation and adopt the attached ordinance. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Anyone opposed?
Nay.
Okay.
Second reading.
That's second reading. Item 5C is a public hearing on a development agreement for the Magnolia Town Subdivision between Taylor Morrison of the Carolinas, Inc. and the town of Wendell as it relates to land dedication, road improvements, and Greenway construction along the Lake Glad Road and Harris Street.
Thank you. So in your packet, you have a draft, substantially complete development agreement wording. I didn't want to completely finish it pending any substantive changes that may happen during the conditional rezoning. None have changed, nothing from the development agreements impacted by any discussion or change in conditions from tonight's meeting. But there are still the legal details to review with what's presented.
Okay, let's open the public hearing and you can continue.
If I can.
And that you can continue and then
Okay.
we'll hear from the board. I just
Thank-
make sure I get that in there.
Thank you. So the main purpose of a development agreement in this form of development process is to provide for items that aren't handled through a zoning process, like conveyance of property and other like considerations. Within the agreement, the principal actions are the developer providing 5 acres of land for a public works yard. This is across the street from our existing public works yard. So there would be the construction of a new public works yard as presented to the board in the past of the need. Currently, our staff's in modular rented lease structure. So we've been seeking land, and from a logistics standpoint, this is very centrally located. It's obviously across the street from existing property used for that purpose and would allow us to grow in place, if you will, rather than outside. That's sufficient acreage and reviewed by our Public Works Department and suitable land for what's needed moving forward. Additionally, implementing the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, there's property, the approximately 8 acres for future development of a neighborhood park by the town. That's consistent with the adopted Parks and Recreation Master Plan that would provide pedestrian bikeable access to neighborhoods in that area. It's connected to downtown with the proposed Main Street Greenway that would connect down as well. And so it helps achieve that plan outcome. So that approximate 13 acres of consideration is part of what the developer side of this agreement. They also complete off-site road improvements to construct the unbuilt section of Harris Street. That provides a connection through to Lake Glad Road to help build out the grid system that was not built. This also provides pedestrian connectivity along the same corridor. The town has 3 unbuilt properties on that section as well, so it provides access to town properties that don't currently have access. So those 3 items, if you look at the monetary value of that versus the town's consideration of being responsible for the Lake Glad Road improvements in the transportation plan, are offsetting. There was an appraisal done on the value of the property and a construction estimate for the road improvements that was reviewed by the town engineer that does our road reviews for fee in lieu of the sort. It's slightly to the public's benefit with the numbers with this agreement. So it is to the favor of the town in this agreement. The other considerations within the agreement deal with things that happen by matter of process and law, water and sewer approvals, allocation of capacity. They're things that happen as a matter of course in the development process. The only other consideration that we're working through right now is the construction of Lake Glad Greenway. The developer would be mobilizing a company for sidewalks and greenway construction on their property. We would likewise be designing and getting a contractor to mobilize and build a section of greenway on Main Street Greenway. There's an opportunity because of the development and through this development agreement to have one entity build that. And so we need to make sure that the wording for that is done in a way that is legal with the development agreement, and thus the continued legal review. But that the idea there would be the developer to construct and then the town to compensate for some other equitable amount somewhere else in the agreement, so that both parties have a benefit of paying one mobilization cost and having a larger scale project, which helps with the logistics and efficiencies, lowers the impact of our greenway cost on the taxpayer. Otherwise, we have to go out and do our own bidding process, pay for full mobilization, and pay per unit cost on a smaller project, which is higher. And if you have any questions from reading the draft, I'm happy to answer it now or at the end of the public hearing.
Okay, are there any questions from the board for the manager? Is there anyone here with us tonight that would like to speak? All right, any other comments from the board? This is your chance. All right, I'm going to close the public hearing.
Madam Mayor, I move we authorize the town manager to sign the final agreement following completion and legal review.
All right, we have a motion to authorize the town manager to sign the final agreement following completion of legal review. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor?
Nay.
Right. And anyone opposed? We had one. All right, we'll move into our administrative items. Item 6A is a request to temporarily close a portion of North Main Street for the upcoming Pro Town BMX event. Mr. Pulaski.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. Pro Town BMX is a stunt team out of Greenville, North Carolina. They have performed all over the world and have done multiple shows here in Wendell in the past. They're planning for shows at 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. Following each show, they do an autograph session with everyone in the crowd, and then they also do free riding clinics with the kids at the end, and they put them through multiple stations. And for kids that don't have bikes or helmets in attendance, they do provide those for them. Excuse me. We have that event scheduled for March the 16th, with the rain date being the very next day with the same times. North Main Street would be closed from 3rd to the railroad tracks from 9:30 a.m. to roughly about 5 p.m., generally depending on how large that last crowd is and how long it takes them to pack up their ramps and get out of there. Generally, it's a little quicker than 5. Public Works would be providing street barricades and cones for the event with delivery that Friday before. The Parks and Recreation Department has already submitted our sound permit, and we would staff the event. I have spoken with most of the Main Street vendors, and they're all excited to have a lot of people standing outside of their doors that evening or that day.
What was the date again?
It's March the 26th with the rain date the 27th.
Did you say you have spoken to the
Yes.
downtown businesses?
Madam Mayor, I move we approve the temporary street closing of North Main Street.
All right, we have a motion to approve the temporary closing of North Main Street. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. All right, item 6B is a purchase request, new tractor for Parks and Rec.
Yes, very important one. The Parks and Recreation Department's current tractor was donated to the town of sorry. The Parks and Recreation.
About the tractor, he didn't even move the
I am. We got it.
All right.
The Parks and Rec Department's current tractor was donated to the town in June of 2006, making it almost 16 years old. This tractor did start out in the Public Works Department and at some point was moved over to Parks and Recreation. We primarily use this tractor for bush hogging large areas. We use it for trail maintenance and also moving debris around the park, such as mulch or ball field clay. The tractor has had minimal maintenance issues leading up until now. We did have to replace the hydraulics in it back in 2020. But a little over 2 weeks ago, we discovered water in the oil, and after having it diagnosed, it looks like it was a possible head gasket issue or a cracked block. The issue there being is none of the tractors dealers in the area are really interested in working on it because, for one, we didn't purchase it from them, and also this tractor was a prototype created by Coyote that didn't go into production, making parts really hard to find for it. Public Works did an inspection on this tractor, which was attached, and they made the recommendation to replace it. We did get 3 comparable quotes from 3 different tractor companies, being Coyote, John Deere, and Kubota. These are tractors that would meet our requirements, are very similar to what we currently have. It was our recommendation to go with the Coyote DK4710SE. The budget officer recommended approval of this purchase, and being that this was not a budgeted item, it would be included in the end of the fiscal year budget amendment.
Any questions for Mr. Pulaski?
I've got one, Madam Mayor.
Yeah.
Jeff, the model that is, the Coyote model that's recommended here, did it go to production?
Yes, we're buying it from a dealer.
Okay.
Yes.
Did we ask about the 2022 prototype?
Maybe get another freebie.
Yeah.
Madam Mayor, I move we authorize the town manager to sign the
Approve the purchase.
approve the purchase.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the proposed purchase. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you. You made Matt Driver very happy tonight.
All right, item 6C, I'm really excited about this one, is authorization for the town manager to sign a contract with Dembele Fireworks Manufacturing Company.
All right, during the August 23rd Board of Commissioners meeting, the board requested staff to prepare a fireworks display for the 4th of July special events for either the town park or for a downtown location. We did consult with Dembele Fireworks to evaluate location, dates, and costs. Location-wise, the town park seemed to be the obvious choice. There wasn't a comparable site in the downtown area. To shoot fireworks, you really kind of need a certain radius in case if they do have misfirings, that you're not landing them on top of people's homes or in those kind of areas. Also, the other issue would be dates. They're very limited on their pyrotechnic professionals who shoot the fireworks shows, and they typically go where the larger fireworks shows are. So being limited with how many people are allowed to shoot these things in the state, we are limited to shooting them on July the 2nd. They have availability. And also the cost. A reasonable fireworks show for a town our size is generally about $20,000. That gets you about an 18 to 20 minute show for that evening. Upon approval of the board to authorize the town manager to sign a contract with Dembele Fireworks Manufacturing Company, the town attorney would complete a legal review and the document will be put in the final form and signed. This action will secure the fireworks display. Fireworks are generally, the payment is done on those as you pay half of the total cost that is due when you sign the paperwork, and the other half is due after the fireworks show is shot. Town staff will also be beginning to kind of plan what that event looks like in a little bit more detail as time gets a little bit closer. And we would provide a follow-up meeting with the board, or a report to the board, once those final plans are in place.
Any comments from the board?
Madam Mayor, I just would like to point out that the 2nd is a Saturday, so I think that's
good.
actually more preferable than a July 4th show anyway, so
Yeah.
that's exciting.
I'm very excited about it.
2 shows.
Madam Mayor, I move we authorize the town manager to sign the contract subject to legal review.
All right, we have a motion to authorize the town manager to sign the contract subject to legal review. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, anyone opposed? I believe so. Item 6B is the acceptance of a real property donation from the Eastern Wake EMS. Ms. Smith.
Good evening. Eastern Wake EMS has offered to donate their former EMS station located at 401 East 3rd Street in Wendell to the town. The resolution for your consideration, if adopted, to accept the donation authorizes the town attorney to prepare deeds for the conveyance of the property to the town. Due diligence will be completed prior to the conveyance. The initial intended use of the facility will be as a flex space for the police department to allow additional office space until the new police station is constructed in the future. Public Works Department would also use the outdoor space for position of equipment and material for use in the downtown area. Funding to upfit the facility for the proposed uses would be considered in the fiscal year 2023 budget. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board?
Just a comment. I appreciate the East Wake Board. I know it's made up of Mr. Jones, but also Brian Hicks and Garland Tant, and others on that board that decided that they wanted to be helpful to the communities that they had served for so long in a real way. I know Zebulon is likely as appreciative as we are. Certainly a cool way to honor the past while moving forward in the public safety space. So I certainly want to thank them for that, and I move we adopt the proposed resolution.
All right. Yeah, I agree. Mr. Tant called me on the phone. He was very excited and adamant that we have it. So we have a motion to adopt the resolution. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Right. We have no other business tonight, so we'll move into our commissioners' reports and start with Commissioner Joyner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate the folks coming out tonight, sharing thoughts and concerns. Certainly, I think a lot of what we do here is, we're doing it in real time, but at the same time, we've been doing it for a long time. I encourage folks to go on our website and take a look at both the planning section, which has been, lots of parts of our website have been recently re-spruced, but there's a lot of good resources that will answer a lot of questions that I know I get a lot about what happens when new development comes and how does that impact transportation plans. There's some pretty good walkthroughs of if this, then that. It was helpful to me to understand it when I first got on the board 6 years ago. So that's my only comment, Madam Mayor, just to encourage folks to use the town website.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner, Eatman?
I would only briefly echo Commissioner Joyner, thank everybody who participated here tonight, as well as encourage you to not only just look at our website, but talk to us too. Happy to help you navigate it. I'm sure there's things on there that I hadn't seen and could probably benefit from looking at too, but happy to work through questions that you have. Always want to be available, so feel free to reach out anytime.
I find it hard to believe there's not something on there that you haven't read.
I'm still looking.
He's very eager. Commissioner Tarnowski?
No comment tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Deloach?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Real briefly, I also want to thank Eastern Wake EMS. I was excited when I first heard about it, so I'm glad to see that it's finally taken place. I do want to give a quick, I guess, just notification, for lack of a better term. Thursday night, Wendell Historical Society, we're celebrating some really special birthdays. We have two 100-year birthdays here in town, and we have a 150-year birthday anniversary as well. So there'll be a brief presentation on that, 7 p.m. this coming Thursday. So I'm sure you can go to their Facebook page or their website to hear more about that. 1903 was quite some time ago, but to have 3 folks with birthdays like that is pretty special, so exciting times. That's all, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you. Real quickly, I want to tell you, I've got a big long list that they asked me to read, but first I want to tell you I was invited to be a guest speaker at an event called Wake Tech Ignite, and it was at the Raleigh Convention Center. I was really honored to be there. It was very exciting. It's an annual event that celebrates Wake Tech and gets information out about the school. We covered a variety of topics. Mine was about the new campus that's coming to Wendell and the impact it's going to have on this area and specifically our citizens. It was exciting. Afterwards, I have continued. It's been 2 weeks ago now. It was the night after our last meeting. And I continue to get comments every day about Wake Tech coming. It's a very exciting time. Wendell's waited a long, long time for our turn to shine, and it is certainly here. And I'm excited to be part of that and see it happening. I really am a big believer in education, and I think educational opportunities that we brought to our citizens of all ages are going to be very important. I'm a lifelong learner myself. My husband calls me a school nerd. I have a big stack of books I'm working on all the time, and I enjoy continuing to be a learner, and I think it's important. And I want those opportunities to be available here for high school students as well as folks as young as I am. So that's going to be important. On that note, as far as opportunities, they are having an open house, Wake Tech, on Saturday, April 9th at their Northern Wake and their RTP campuses. They're going to be doing tours, departmental open houses, information about admission, sports, university transfer after you've participated and put some time in there. And also, and something I'm very excited about, they're going to have information about free tuition offer for all 2022 high school graduates. So if you're a high school graduate this year, you need to know about that. That's an important thing to know about. And so there's no excuse for every kid graduating from high school this year not to go to college at Wake Tech from Wendell. If you don't, I'm going to want to know why. You can take a look at their website and get more information. This is really a great opportunity, so don't miss out. I have a few other quick things. Our Launch Wendell program is looking for mentors. If you're a current business owner and you're willing to share resources and advice, they'd love for you to apply. Your mentorship begins in April, will last about 6 months. The time commitment is about 1 to 4 hours a month. It will vary depending on you and the person that you're mentoring. And you can find out more information about that at launchwendell.com. The Wendell Market is looking for vendors for the 2022 season, which begins on May 9th. This year, it's going to be on select Thursday nights from 6 to 9 on Campin Row. You can look at the town website if you're interested in becoming a vendor. We are looking for all kinds of folks. So, the Town of Wendell Stormwater Department is going to be holding an educational walk and talk to celebrate Creek Week at the Wendell Park. The meetup will be at the Hugh T. Moody Trailhead near the volleyball court, down the furthest end to the community park at 10 a.m. on Saturday, March 19th. That's this Saturday. You can go out there. It's going to be very informative, learn about local wildlife, otters, wood ducks, blue herons. I believe there's some owls out there. I don't know if I'm supposed to tell that. Hear stories about Buffalo Creek and the Wendell Park and the importance of keeping our waterways clean, safe for the environment. So this might even be good if you have a child that's a scout, or you're just interested. Wendell Community Arbor Day is also this Saturday. We invite everyone out to be a part of our planting of an 8-foot magnolia tree at the J. Ashley Wildtown Square at 9 a.m. this Saturday. So you could come out there at 9 and then go right over to the park at 10 and have a great morning. They're going to talk about the history of Arbor Day, tree planting, and care, Tree City USA standards, which we are a Tree City USA, and the importance of trees in our community, and Kona Ice folks are going to be there. So come on out and help plant a tree and be part of our community. A reminder about the ProTown BMX. We heard about that already tonight, March 26th at 11 and 2. And we are also looking for artists to paint live during Spring Into the Arts on May 21st. I think I may have said May. It's March 26th for the BMX. But the Spring Into the Arts is May 21st, and you can contact Jeff Pulaski for more information about that. All that being said, it is so exciting to see us back doing a lot of stuff. I'm happy to see that. I haven't had a list like that in 2 years, over 2 years. So it's exciting to see a lot of great things come into Wendell and a lot of great things happening here. And I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And no opposition. We're adjourned.
Target market, do you think the credit union has that they created is specific?
That's federal.
Yeah.